for a beautiful story, for a saying, for something I want to say, for something you want to listen, you want to hear. And what is that? As I am celebrating the right way of storytelling, storytelling ritual, it always fascinates to me. What about you? Yes, of course, it fascinates all of you. Today we will talk something about horizon, something about infinite horizon, where we are heading, where we are moving. And also, I will celebrate storytelling, story time, our wonderful ritual. I'm going to say a beautiful story too. I hope you will join. Even I'm waiting for you, for all of you, for joining. I am your host and those. Just forget everything. Just remember nothing but only stories. Stories from your side, from mine to you, from you to me. Yes. So it's time to start. Are you ready? Absolutely. And I am ready. Where I am heading, where you are heading, where we all are heading. It's an infinite zone, infinite horizon. But still, the question is where we are wired for more. We need for more. We look for more. But what relates to the word more? Have you ever noticed that the moment you get exactly what you wanted, your promotion, the partner, the new car, the perfect apartment, the high lasts about 3 days before you start looking at the next thing? What is that? What is the more? It's a bit of cosmic joke, isn't it? As humans, we are the only species that can sit in a beautiful home with a full stomach and a safe environment and still feel a nagging sense of, is this it? Because our needs are too much. We look for more. This is not just you being ungrateful, it's a complex cocktail of evolutionary biology, social conditioning, and also psychological architecture. What is that? That is the golden case of next. Why your brain refuses to let you be happy. You want to be happy. Sometimes you feel happiness, but your brain urges for more, and the word more nags you. Then your brain refuses to let you be happy. Ever feel like you are running a race with no finish line? And I think all are in a race with no ending line, isn't it? So join me as I am deconstructing the arrival fallacy and the science of human dissatisfaction. We are diving deep into why our brains are literally programmed to keep us wanting more, how modern society exploits our hedonic treadmill, and why being unsatisfied might actually be the reason our species survived. Let us talk about the psychological itch you can't scratch. The perspective, a psychosocial deep dive. What is? Regarding evolutionary engine, survival over satisfaction. We must say, from a biological standpoint, satisfaction is a death sentence. Thousands of years ago, if a human felt satisfied after finding one berry bush, they didn't prepare for winter. The ones who survived, that was our ancestors, were the anxious, restless ones who thought, this is great, but what if the fire goes out? How can I make a sharper spear? अगर सेटिस्फैक्शन ही मिल जाएगा तो वो पूर्ण विराम होगा, फुल स्टॉप होगा, जो कि हम चाहते ही नहीं हैं. हम क्या चाहते हैं? हम चाहते हैं मोर, मोर, और ज़्यादा. What is that? That is psychological uncertainty. Evolution doesn't care if you are happy. It only cares if you are productive and reproductive. We are the descendants of the restless. They were restless. We are restless. And we will be restless. Because we are heading the hedonic treadmill. And in the term of psychology, we call this hedonic adaptation. It is the observed tendency of humans to quick return to the relatively stable level of happiness, despite major positive or negative events. The best quotation I am remembering and I want to share with you all. Happiness is not a station you arrive at, but the manner of traveling. Yet our biology tricks us into believing the station is just around the bend, forcing us to run faster on a treadmill that never ends. Is there any end point of treadmill? No, never. What about social mirror comparatively as a thief? Socially, we don't measure our success in a vacuum. We measure it against our reference group. In our past, you compare yourself to your neighbor, isn't it? Didn't you do so? Didn't you compare yourself as your neighbor? Today, thanks to the digital age, you compare your behind the scenes footage with everyone else's highlight reel. We suffer from relative deprivation. We are not happy because we lack things. We are unhappy because we have less than the person we just scrolled past. Oh, so sad, a conversational breakdown. So, am I just broken? Why can't I just enjoy what I have? Lol, not at all. Think of your dissatisfaction like a software update. Notification that never goes away. Your brain thinks it's helping. You stay competitive. The itch you feel is actually your ambition and survival instinct misforming in a world that is now too safe for its own good. We have solved the problems of where is the food, but our brain are still using that same hunter gatherer energy to ask where is the cloud or where's the better job. हम हमेशा अपने डिससेटिस्फैक्शन के बारे में सोचते रहते हैं. जैसे कोई भी सॉफ्टवेयर होता है वो हमेशा अपनी अपडेशन के बारे में सोचता रहता है, नोटिफिकेशंस पर काम करता है और नोटिफिकेशंस हैं जो कि आती ही रहती हैं. इसी तरह हमारा ब्रेन है, ये हेल्प तो करता है लेकिन हमेशा कम्पिटिटिव मोड में रहता है. और हमें जो चीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा नैक करती है वो क्या है, वो हमारी अपनी एम्बिशंस हैं. हमारी एम्बिशंस कभी भी हमें सेफ मोड में नहीं रहने देती हैं. हम जो हैं हमें वैसा अच्छा नहीं सोचने देती हैं. हमने एक प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करी तो दूसरी प्रॉब्लम. If we have a job, then we look for better job. That is the problem. That is the nagging point. And if we want to understand the human dissatisfaction, we have to look at the intersection of the id. Id in Freud's words, it is said our primal desire. Id, ego, superego. Fred has classified it. So our primal desire is here, and also a social fabrication. Social fabrication means what is our need for status? Because here is everything for status symbol, not for exactly our wants, our needs. It's all for status symbol. So why human dissatisfaction occurs? It occurs in 2 points. The first point is our id, means our desire, and the second one is social fabrication, our need for status. What are the factors for that? What are the psychological impact? And on the other hand, social impact too. If we consider the factor, the very known factor, dopamine. What is psychological impact for dopamine? It provides a hit for the pursuit, not the attainment. And what is the social impact of dopamine? Markets exploit this by selling newness. जो हमारी मार्केट होती है ना, वहां पर इतनी न्यूनेस आती रहती है कि हमारी जो ओल्ड वन की सटाइटी कंप्लीट हुई. डोपामिन जो रिलीज होने वाला था वो न्यूनेस के चक्कर में चला गया. और जो साइकोलॉजिकल इम्पैक्ट होता है, हमें कुछ मिला, हमने कुछ हासिल किया, जो मिल गया उसकी वैल्यू कम हो गई क्योंकि तुरंत ही नई चीज सामने आ जाती है. एंड when we consider about social status, our psychological impact is that we feel safer when we are higher in the hierarchy. But the social impact is, it's a constant keeping up with the Jones via social media. Why this is? Why the third one factor implies? The third one factor is existential dread. Is it so? Do we consider for that? If we see with the lens of psychological impact, if we see the things with the help of psychological lens, what is? We use doing to avoid the discomfort of being. हम चीज़ों को करते जा रहे हैं, क्यों? क्योंकि हम उस डिस्कम्फर्ट में नहीं आना चाहते जो होने का होता है, होने वाला डिस्कम्फर्ट या हमें ये हासिल नहीं हुआ, ये वाला डिस्कम्फर्ट कम करने के लिए हम डूइंग की प्रोसेस में रहते हैं। और जो ये कंटिन्यूअसली डूइंग की प्रोसेस है, ये नैग करती है एग्जैक्टली। और जो सोशल इम्पैक्ट है या सोशल लेंस है एग्जिस्टेंशियल ड्रेड को देखने का, ये क्या है? सोसाइटी रिवॉर्ड्स ओवरवर्किंग एंड कॉन्स्टेंट बिजीनेस। जो ये हमारी सोसाइटी होती है रिवॉर्ड करती है ओवरवर्क को, कि जब हम काम पर काम करते हैं और कॉन्स्टेंटली अपने आप को बिजी रखते हैं, तब हमें सोसाइटी का रिवॉर्ड मिलता है। जैसे मैं यहाँ पर कर रही हूँ, काम पर काम, शोज पर शोज और लाइव पर लाइव। कुछ तो ऐसा मिले, कोई चीज़ ऐसी हो जो आपको हिट करे, जो आप यहाँ पर ठहर कर सीखना चाहें। बस यही चीज़ है, यही बात हमें डिस्कम्फर्ट जोन में लाती है। आई एम नॉट कैपेबल, आई एम नॉट डूइंग गुड, आई एम वर्थलेस। Most of us suffer from the arrival fallacy. What is that? Arrival fallacy. The belief that when we arrive at a certain destination, our wants, our needs, we will reach a permanent state of bliss. But because the goalposts move the moment we kick the ball, we find ourselves in a perpetual state of becoming rather than being. Arrival fallacy. जब हम कहीं पहुंच तो गए हैं, किसी सर्टेन डेस्टिनेशन को हमने पा लिया है, चाहे वो हमारी मैरिज हो, हमारी वेल्थ हो, हमारा फेम हो, जो भी हमने चाहा हो वो पा तो लिया, हम परमानेंट स्टेट ऑफ ब्लिस में पहुंच जाते हैं। हमें लगता है हमें आशीर्वाद मिल गया, गोल पोस्ट मिल गया है। लेकिन जैसे ही हम उस परमानेंट स्टेट में आ जाते हैं, गोल पोस्ट पा लेते हैं, हम उस मोमेंट से मूव करना चाहते हैं, हम उस बॉल को किक करना चाहते हैं, उस लम्हे को किक कर ourselves in a perpetual state of becoming rather than being. जो पा लिया सो तो पा लिया, अब कोई दूसरा भी तो गोल सेट होना चाहिए। इवन दो हम उस हैप्पीनेस को महसूस भी नहीं कर पाते हैं, क्योंकि हम कुछ और पाने की होप से खुद को फ्री ही नहीं कर पाते हैं। Dissatisfaction is a price of progress. It's the reason we have medicine, art, and space travel. However, the trick to modern life is not to kill the desire, it's to stop letting the desire drive the bus. Dissatisfaction प्रोग्रेस की कीमत है। यही वो रीज़न है जो हमें सब कुछ मिला। हम हर दिशा में जो चाहते थे वो कर पाए। लेकिन ये जो मॉडर्न लाइफ के ट्रिक्स हैं, इनसे डिज़ायर को किल नहीं करना है। हमें इन डिज़ायर्स को चलते रहने देना है। किसी भी चीज़ को लेट गो नहीं करना है। एक डिज़ायर गई तो दूसरी आनी ही चाहिए। इफ यू आर नॉट हैप्पी विद दैट you have, you won't be happy with what you get. It's not a permanent truth, but it's a practical truth. Practically ये हो रहा है. It's happening. If you want to mindfulness plan, if you want to help shift your focus from attaining to appreciating, you should join 7-day mindfulness plan. If you want in box, a beautiful story of a girl I have for you. The air in the village of Okavan didn't just carry the scent of pine. It carried the weight of expectations. For Elara, a 19-year-old with eyes the color of rain-washed slate, life was supposed to be a series of neat, predictable check boxes. But Elara had a secret. While the other girls in a village spent their afternoons discussing the upcoming harvest ball or the finest silk thread at the market, Elara spent hers at the edge of the whispering woods, staring at the horizon. She was a living embodiment of the infinite horizon we discussed earlier, a soul perpetually reaching for a more she couldn't quite name. She was an architecture of a restless heart. Elara was beautiful in a way that felt accidental. She moved with a distracted grace, often tripping over roots because her gaze was fixed on the light of a hawk or the way the light fractures through the canopy. To the villagers, she was charming but distant. To herself, she was a puzzle with a missing piece. Do you want to know what Elara looks for? Is Elara looking for missing piece of puzzle? So I will tell. Her father, a clockmaker named Silas, understood the mechanics of time, but not the mechanics of his daughter's heart. Many of the person couldn't get what is happening with their children. Elara, he would say, his love praised to this eye. The secret to a good watch is that every gear is content with its place. If the escapement tries to be the mainspring, the whole thing stops. Elara's father said, but father, what if the watch is meant to be a campus heart? Elara replied. She stood in silence. And here is another scene. And in it affects our arrival fallacy. When the village announced the great centenary, a festival that occurred once every 100 years, Clara convinced herself that this was a milestone she needed. She poured her energy into the preparations. She believed that if she could just design the most intricate floral archway, if she could just lead the village choir to a flawless performance, that nagging itch to dissatisfaction would finally be scratched. Here, Ilara was hopeful. She worked until her fingers bled and her voice grew hoarse. This was her arrival fallacy. She told herself, once the festival is over and the village is proud, I will finally feel complete. Wow, Elara's hope. The night of the festival arrived. The village was a riot of gold and amber light. Alara stood under her floral archway, listening to the thunderous applause of the elders. She wore the finest dress she had ever worn. For exactly 12 minutes, she felt a surge of pure, unadulterated joy. उन्हें कहते हैं बचपन वाला happiness. And then, like a tide receding, it left. Standing in the middle of the cheering crowd, Alara felt a sudden, crushing hollowness. The music felt too loud, the lights too bright. She had reached the destination she had spent months dreaming of. And yet, she was still just Ilara. The station had been reached, but the train was already pulling out again. Does Alara's hope fade away? What is the turning point? Be with me for the turning point. Thanks to all who are with me. Thank you so much, friends. So, I'm going to turning point. Be with me for this. She slipped away from the noise, retreating to her spot at the edge of the woods. She sat on a mossy stone and wept, not because she was sad, but because she was tired of the chase. It never stops, does it? A voice rasped. Alara startled. She choked. Sitting a few feet away was old Clara, a woman the village called the Weaver. She was nearly 90, her skin a roadmap of a century left. What never stops? Alara asked, wiping her eyes. Clara said, the wanting. Looking at the same horizon Elara had studied for years. You think you are broken because you are not satisfied. You think the other girls have a secret piece that you lack. Elara looked down. How did you know? Because I spent 80 years running on that same treadmill. Clara laughed, a sound like dry leaves. I thought it was the husband. Then I thought it was the children. Then the house. Then the grandchildren. I kept waiting for the day. I could sit down and say, I have enough. But the human heart is not a jar to be filled. Elara, it's a river. It is meant to keep moving. What the thing Clara said. Amazing thing. I hope Elara will be thankful to the Clara. Is it the psycho-social realization for Elara? Was it? Clara reached out and took Elara's hand. She said, she continued, your dissatisfaction is not your enemy, it is your engine, but you have been using it to drive in circles. You are trying to find a version of yourself that is finished, but there is no finished version, there is only the unfolding. Ilara stood on toes. In that moment, the girly aesthetic of Ilara's life, the ribbons, the festivals, the social comparisons, stripped away to reveal something more profound. She realized that she had been weaving her life as a series of achievements to be unlocked rather than a journey to be experienced. She looked back at the village. From this distance, the lights looked like fallen stars. She realized she didn't need to leave Okavan to find more, but she didn't need to stop expecting Okavan to provide her with a permanent state of bliss. Ilara returned to the festival, but this time she didn't stand center stage. She sat on a bench with a piece of honey cake and watched her friends. She noticed the way the firelight danced on their faces. She listened to the laughter, not as a judge of her own success, but as a participant in a fleeting moment. She began to practice with a modern word would call mindfulness, though she simply called it noticing. Now, nothing turned in noticing. She still looked at the horizon. She still felt the itch to travel, to learn, and to grow. But the itch no longer felt like a failure. It felt like a promise. She understood now that she was wired for the pursuit and that the beauty of being human lay in the very fact that we are never truly done. What the final thought was there to Ilara? Years later, Ilara became the village's most renowned naturalist. She traveled to the mountains and the sea, always seeking, always curious. People often asked her if she had finally found what she was looking for. She would smile, look at the distant peaks, and say, no, and I hope I never do. That was the Ilara's final thought. And what is ours? What is the key takeaway from Ilara's story? What we got from Ilara's story? Is there something? Yeah, there is. There is the myth of completion. Like Ilara, we often believe there is a version of us at the end of the road who is finally happy. In reality, the road is the point. हम खुद को कहाँ खड़े कर कर ये सोचने लगते हैं कि ये हुआ नहीं. पूरा क्या होता है? कंप्लीटनेस क्या होता है, गोल क्या होता है। जिंदगी कोई स्टेशन थोड़े ही है, जिंदगी कोई गंतव्य थोड़े ही है। रास्ते हैं, रास्तों पर चलना है। जिंदगी एक जर्नी है, स्टेशन नहीं। द पावर ऑफ कनेक्शन, sometimes the perspective of someone further down the path, and it can help us realize what flaws are actually universal human traits. खुद से थोड़ा दूर जाकर जब खुद को देखेंगे तब ये समझ में आएगा कि हमने सब कुछ अच्छा ही तो नहीं किया, हमारी कुछ गलतियां भी तो हुई हैं। और ये ह्यूमन ट्रेट है, इसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं है जो हमने किया कोई नहीं करता है, ऐसा नहीं है। गलतियां सभी करते हैं, गलतियां ना करें तो ह्यूमन कैसे, इंसान कैसे। Redefining dissatisfaction. When we stop seeing our hunger for more as a problem to be solved, it becomes a curiosity to be explored. जहाँ हम पहुँच नहीं सकते उन्हें एक्सप्लोर तो कर सकते हैं। That is the saying, that is the satisfaction. और यही satisfaction होना चाहिए। We should embrace, we should embrace our journey. We didn't meet with our restless heart. If we embrace our journey, we never meet our restless heart. थैंक यू फ्रेंड्स, थैंक यू वेरी मच यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए। ये छोटी छोटी सी चीज़ें, सिंपल सी कहानियाँ, ये शेयर करके बहुत अच्छा लगता है। when you all listen, when you all applause, the round of applause, it's my reward. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's time to wind up. We will meet tomorrow for sure. Thank you.